As you can see from the video here, I've actually got my rotary attachment loaded into the Speedy 300. A couple of things about the Trotec rotary attachment before we go on. In this example, I'm going to be using cones. I typically find the cones are better than the rollers for doing mugs like this with handles. We do sell a roller system, but again, I do like the cone system better. You notice I've got a cone here, and then I've got an inverted cone style right here. So basically my front of my glass will go here and my back of my glass will go right here. This is my quick release here to allow me to slide back and forth to adjust for the different lengths of the glass. You'll notice here I've got a height adjustment, so I can loosen this off and I can raise this up and down. This allows me to adjust for some tapers in glass. I can also do the same thing on this side here. And again, this will come up and down. So again, I can not only can I have some back adjustment where I can actually adjust the angle this way, I also have a little bit of adjustment here for the back and front sides of the actual glass itself. All we're going to do here is place the glass in the holder. Bring it in here. You'll notice I got a bit of a spring here, so I have a quick release here. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this in here. Now, the first thing you want to do when you're doing a handled mug is, again, especially if we're doing both sides, is you want to make sure that you can traverse all the way around. I've got the machine in a suspend mode here, which makes it easy for me, which unlocks the motors, and allows me to spin all the way around so I can actually see if I can get by. And you notice here, I'm getting right by here. And we can get through here. Now, the thing to remember about this is that the higher that I raise these up, the less diameter I have to work with the glass. So normally 4 or 5 inch diameter glasses are good, but again, it really depends on how big this handle is. If you've got a mug with a really large handle and you need a fair bit of clearance here, you're going to need to raise this up a lot. And if you raise this up, then basically what's going to happen is you're going to lose some diameter on your glass. But most of the time I don't really have any problems. So anytime I need to clear this, I'm going to loosen these two off here and I'm going to bring this up. If I want less clearance, then I can bring this down. And again here you can see I've got enough clearance here. I can get by the actual base of the actual rotary attachment here. But if I needed to get more height, again, I can just raise this up. If I've got too much height, it's really not that big of a deal. What I really don't want to do is come around here and then hit this, because if I hit this, then I'm going to ruin the logo that I'm working with. You can see I've got my job set up here. On my coffee mug, I'm going to put 2 different logos. For this case, I'm going to basically send over 2 different logos. One is on one page and one is on the other page. There's something I just want to go through as a check. This is something that you need to make sure before you send over to the rotary attachment. I'm just going to send over the one logo and I'm just going to run through a quick check here with you. If I'm going to go to File Print, you'll notice that my page is 1.1 by 1.5. I'm going to go to my preference setting. I'm going to say the current page first. I'm going to go to preference setting. I'm going to type in 1.1 by 1.5. And you'll notice here that I'm not going to have the rotary attachment on. I'm going to leave that off. I'm going to 500 DPI, order dithering. Again, all this is basically what I want to have set up. I'm just going to do my setup here for my powers. And I'm going to go in here and we're going to skip the red. And we're going to go engrave. I've got a 80 watt Speedy 300 here. I'm going to leave my power at 100 and I'm going to put my speed down around 90. This machine's running at 140 inches a second with a 5G motor, so the overshoot is very, very small and it's very quick for its ramp up speed. So I'm going to get pretty good speed here. I can't go to 100%. I like to give this a little bit extra burn when I'm using the mask. So I'm going to leave these settings here. If I wanted to, I could come over here and make a glass setup. But for this instance, I'm not really going to worry about that. I'm going to say OK. And I'm going to click the OK button here. And you notice my job is ready to go over. And notice how my layout is perfect. And I'm going to say File Print. And the job's gone over to Job Control. Now what you want to do when you want to put the rotary attachment on is we're going to go to Settings, Options, Accessories. I'm going to say Rotary Attachment. I've got my diameter in here, which in this case is 3.65. I'm going to put my homing position here to return to start position. I don't want it to go back to the 0 top left-hand corner, and I don't want it to finish where it stops. I want it to go back to the original start position. Very important when we're doing multiple jobs here when we're using the red dot pointer for lineup. I'm going to say OK. Rotary attachment is now active because I have a rotary attachment logo here. This does not indicate the layout of the rotary. It's just giving us a visual to let us know that the rotary attachment is active. So don't look at this and say, hey, my rotary attachment's in the wrong way. This is just here for a visual layout. This is telling you that the rotary is working. So now if I take my job and I drag out to my logo here, and let's just zoom in on this. Now I'm in the position of my logo. Now you notice that the top of my logo is on the left here. If you look at my glass in the right window here, you'll notice that my glass is actually facing the other way. So if I was to engrave this logo right now, it actually would be upside down. Okay, so this is very important to remember that when you're using this technique, that we make sure that we're going to be engraving properly on our glass so that it's not upside down. So I'm going to get rid of this one. We can't use this job here. We're going to delete it. And we're going to go back to Corel. And I'm going to take this job here and I'm going to rotate this 180 so that it's upside down. Put this in the middle here. And I'm going to go to page 2 and I need to do the same thing for it. So it's going to go to 180, so it's upside down, say OK. Now when I go File Print, and I'm going to say Current Document, now I'm going to send over both pages at the same time. So I'm going to go over, I'm going to have page 1 will be the first logo and page 2 will be the second logo. And this is the way we're going to have to do this because I need to have 2 separate jobs so that I can bring them out and use the laser, the red dot pointer to line them up. So I'm going to go File Print. And the jobs have been sent over to the laser machine. Okay, so let's come into Settings, Options, Accessories, Rotary Attachment. Here's my diameter setting, say OK. And again, we're active now. So what we want to do is, here's my first job over here on the right side. And I'm going to drag this out. And notice it flips, and you'll notice now that the job is perfectly lined up. And if I move this job, it snaps to the middle of where my red dot pointer is. Now this is important because if we look at our panel on our machine, you've got a keypad here. These 2 buttons here will force our head to go left or right, and these 2 buttons, which normally move our table up and down if we weren't using the rotary attachment, actually become the rotation of the rotary attachment. Okay, so when you plug in the rotary attachment, you're basically disabling the y-axis, and the y-axis becomes the turn of the mug. That's why if we were looking at doing a full wrap, we could do that by taking the circumference of the glass, which is the height of a page, multiply 3.14 times the diameter, and that will give us the circumference of the glass. If I press one of these buttons, this button forces the laser to go back to the starting position. This button forces it to go to the front. If I turn the power back on, so if I push this button, you notice the mug turning towards the back of the machine, and that's normally the way that it actually laser engraves. If I hit the top button, this forces the head to come to the back, come back to the starting position. This is my repeat button right here, so if I'm doing a whole bunch of jobs, I don't have to send over another job, I just have to press the repeat button and this will keep on repeating. So now what I want to do is, I want to take my glass, place it in, and let's get our job lined up. You notice on the screen that I've got the laser back to somewhere around where I think the middle part is. If I bring my logo up here and I let it snap, you notice how it snaps here. I have a little bit of space here. I could come up a little bit more here, but that's such a minor space there. If I wanted to, I could bring this up a little closer and then it wouldn't be any movement. So what's going to happen now, this is going to be a bit of a turn and then the laser is going to start to engrave. If I put this right up here, there won't be any turn at all. I like to always have a little bit of a buffer here, and again, that's not a lot. It's basically going to be maybe a 1/16 of an inch or something in that case, which is very minimal in terms of our distance here. So again, I'm going to leave that like that. If it's really concerned to you, we can bring it right up to the top here if you want. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to set a starting position to my head. And I'm going to go to plate and I'm going to say marker to laser. And you notice that I've got a little red dot, little red square here. That's marking the middle position and that marks my starting point. I like to do this just in case there's a mistake. It also, what's going to happen is if I'm bringing different logos in, I can actually snap to that red square because that becomes a temporary home position. And what's most important is that I can save this job for another day. So if I'm doing this glass all the time, once I get the setup going, I can leave the actual setup and then I can bring different logos in and just have them snap to the red squares here. So very important that we do that. So because what has to happen now is I have to set up the next side of my glass. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my glass and I want to pull this back a little bit. And I want to line up here with the red dot pointer. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to go and I want to find the next side. And I'm going to press that down arrow, which forces the glass to go all the way around. Not a big deal if I don't line up here. I'm more concerned about here. This is really more concerning for the here. I know my red dot pointer is in the middle, so I don't have to worry about that. All I got to make sure they've got enough mask up here to cover this off for the logo. If I zoom out here, you'll notice that the laser head is traversed down to the starting point here. So what I can do now is I can grab my second logo and I can drag it out here and it turns. So now it's engraving the right way too, and I can snap it right here. And then for what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to marker to the laser, which the hotkey is F8. And now I've got a little red square here too. So if I move this away, let's go back up here. If I move this logo away, you notice that there's still the red square here and I can just snap off to that square. See how it just snaps right there? So that's right in the middle of my job and that's exactly where I want it to be. What I can do now is I can actually come in and I can actually save this job. So I can save as, and I can call this, say it's Joe's Coffee. And I can say save. Now, the nice thing about that is that now I can pull this job up. It will be saved with the two logos. I don't necessarily have to save it with the two logos, but I like to save it because what ends up happening if I'm using this job again down the road, I want to leave at least one logo here so that the rotary attachment's always active and then I can just drag in the jobs. Now all I need to do is send the job over and we can start laser engraving. So the nice thing about this setup is that with the machine coming back to the starting position, then it's easier for me to place the glass in and line it up. I don't want the laser head to go back to the top left-hand corner. And you can see that's happened right here. You can see that I've got the laser head starting now in the middle of the logo. So now when I want to put in another glass, all I need to do is to take the glass out, place it in, and I can pull this left stop back a little bit, and then I can turn the glass till I get it lined up. Okay? It's very important that I get my orientation this way. I'm not too worried about it this way, because if I'm off a little bit, the red dot pointer is where it's supposed to be in the middle, going this way. What I'm worried about is that the glass is lined up going this way around the round side. I just need to make sure I've got enough wrap here so that my logo doesn't half engrave here and half engrave off the wrap. So that's really the only consideration. So the black dot is more critical for this, not so much this. Okay, so make sure you've got it set up. So again, like I said, pull this out, pull this back in again, get this set up, pull this back a little bit, line our dot up, and then we're ready to go. Very important for us to do this. This gives us very good consistency, gives us good repeatability on our job, and cuts down on the amount of wasted glass that we get because maybe we didn't get it lined up properly. So a little bit of extra work that has to be done at the beginning, but it saves us a lot of time, and it reduces the amount of wastage.